The year was 2023. Rain lashed against the presidential compound in Ouagadougou like bullets from the sky, a low grumble of thunder rolling over the city like a warning no one could read. Inside the thick concrete walls of the residence, silence pressed harder than the storm. A silence made not from peace, but from the anticipation of betrayal. Captain Ibrahim Traoré sat alone in his office, the room dim save for the faint golden glow of a desk lamp. He wasn't reading the documents before him. Not really. His eyes were focused, but distant, watching ghosts that no one else could see. He'd heard it again. The whisper. It came from no single mouth, and yet echoed through the corridors of power like a tune hummed behind locked doors. They're going to kill you. Not in a coup. Not in broad daylight. That would be too obvious, too crude. No, the whisper said it would be quiet. Surgical. A meal. A drink. A handshake too long. And worst of all, the whisper didn't say who. That was the genius of it. Ibrahim leaned back in his chair, the worn leather creaking under the weight of a man who had carried a nation on his back and a target on his chest. He was 35, but his eyes had aged faster. They were the eyes of a soldier who had survived both gunfire and parliaments. And he was thinking. Not just about the assassination. But why now? Burkina Faso had not known true calm in years. Traoré had come to power not through ambition, but necessity, replacing the ineffective, the corrupt, the weak-hearted. The West hated him. The people loved him. The old elite feared him. And now, someone had decided he was better off dead. The door creaked open, no knock. It was Colonel Diarra, his closest security chief. A man with sharp eyes and a voice that always sounded like it had more to say than it let on. Traoré motioned him in without a word. They've moved up the dinner, Diarra said, lowering his voice. The so-called informal diplomatic gathering. 3 ambassadors. 2 ministers. 1 wild card. All asking for your attendance personally. Ibrahim chuckled, but it was humorless. How gracious of them. I assume there will be a toast. Yes, sir, Diarra said. Then, sir, I don't like it. I don't either. But we can't cancel. That's what they want. For us to flinch. Diarra stepped forward. Then let me vet the food. I'll have the glasses swapped. We can run background on every staffer. Lock down the whole event. Traoré stood. Calm. Steady. Too steady. No. No. I want the original glasses. The original food. The original seating. Everything exactly as they planned. Diarra's brow furrowed. With respect, that's insane. No, Colonel, Traoré said. It's strategy. If a man knows he's being hunted and still shows up to the lion's den smiling, then the lions begin to question their claws. He paused. And it's time they started questioning. 2 hours later, a convoy of black SUVs rolled silently through the rain. Ibrahim Traoré sat in the center vehicle, surrounded by bodyguards who were nervous but said nothing. He didn't check his phone. He didn't glance outside. He simply stared forward, hands resting on his knees, like a man heading into battle, but without armor. The compound where the dinner was to be held was owned by a foreign NGO. It had been gifted for the evening's meeting. Inside were fine wines, imported linens, and plates that gleamed under chandelier light. The illusion of civility. Traoré stepped in like a general on foreign soil. Ambassador Wilkins from the U.S. greeted him first. Too eager. Eyes that flickered. The kind of smile that made you feel unclean. Behind him, French attaché Arnaud offered a polite bow, but his fingers trembled slightly around the stem of his wine glass. The Burkinabe ministers were more controlled, men who'd learned long ago how to hide a dagger behind a compliment. Captain, said Minister Doumbia, with a warm grin that didn't reach his eyes. We're honored you came. We were beginning to think the rain might keep you away. Rain is only a problem, Ibrahim replied, if you're afraid of what washes up from the mud. A moment of silence. Then, polite laughter. But it was tight. Strained. Everyone was watching him, no one knowing whether to be relieved or terrified that he'd actually come. They led him to the head of the table. The wine was poured. The food was served. He ate. Slowly. Deliberately. Every bite was a statement. Every sip of wine, a provocation. If anyone expected him to check for poison, he didn't. If anyone thought he'd show fear, they were left with nothing but silence and a man who smiled too easily for someone with so many enemies. Midway through the meal, a soft clink of a fork against crystal drew the table's attention. Minister Doumbia stood. "I'd like to propose a toast," he said, lifting his glass. "To unity. To stability. And to President Ibrahim Traoré, who, despite many challenges, continues to lead with strength." The glasses were raised. But Ibrahim didn't lift his. Instead, he reached into his pocket and placed something on the table. A small silver spoon. Old. Worn. Insignificant, except to those who knew what it meant. It had belonged to his mother. The only woman who'd ever told him, as a boy, that people with power would one day try to steal not just his life, but the meaning of it. He stared at the spoon. Then at Doumbia. And finally lifted his glass. "To snakes who forget that I've walked barefoot before," he said. "And know the feeling of their bite." No one drank immediately. Some did so awkwardly. Others just stared. The trap had not closed. But the teeth were showing. The dinner ended, but the real games began after the plates were cleared. Ibrahim stood near the fireplace of the salon, glass of water in hand now, not wine. Around him, the ambassadors and ministers mingled, speaking in low voices, throwing glances like daggers and compliments like disguises. Diarra was outside, coordinating the motorcade. Ibrahim had insisted he not enter. If things went the wrong way, it would not be his chief who died first. "Captain," said Ambassador Wilkins, stepping closer with a calculated smile. "Forgive me. But there are concerns back home. Your alignment with certain foreign powers, let's call them non-traditional allies, is causing waves. Big ones." Traoré didn't look at him. He stared into the fire, watching the wood crackle and fall apart slowly. "A fire doesn't ask permission to burn," he said, "just as a nation doesn't ask to be sovereign." "Of course," Wilkins said. "But the international community, we." "You mean your community," Traoré cut in. "One where sovereignty is only tolerated when it's convenient." Wilkins took a measured breath. "I'm just saying, the path you're on, it may lead to instability. For everyone." Ibrahim turned then, slowly, but fully. "No, Ambassador. It may lead to freedom. Which looks like chaos to those who profit from chains." Wilkins didn't respond. He simply gave a tight-lipped nod and moved off, face stiff. From the corner, a quiet voice entered the edge of Traoré's awareness. "She said you'd be stubborn. That you'd rather eat bullets than beg bread." The voice came from behind a ficus, of all things. Traoré turned. It was Minister Salif Keita, older, soft-spoken, forgotten by many. He served under 3 regimes. Survived them all. And he had never asked for attention. Which is why Ibrahim had always kept a wary eye on him. "Who's she?" Traoré asked softly. Salif didn't blink. "The one who told me not to come tonight." The air thickened. "You came anyway," Ibrahim said. "She also said you wouldn't die." "Kind of her. Not kindness. She was angry. That you're too clever. That you don't scare easy. That you knew." Traoré studied him for a long moment. "What do you want, Salif? To be left out of what's coming?" Ibrahim sipped his water. "Then why tell me this?" Salif leaned closer. "Because she's not afraid to fail. And because she wasn't the only one at this table who prayed you'd choke on your toast." Then he walked away. Just like that. Like a man who had said what he needed and didn't care about the consequences. But Ibrahim cared. Because now the whisper had a shape. A woman. Someone with reach. And someone who knew he'd come tonight and not flinch. That narrowed it. After the dinner, Traoré stepped outside into the rain. The convoy waited, but he told Diarra to delay. "I want the names of every woman in attendance tonight," he said quietly. "There were only 2 officials," Diarra replied. "Minister Ndala. And Minister Diomant." Ibrahim nodded. "What do we know about Diomant?" "Hardliner. Ex-military. Worked with French contractors in 16. Lost her husband in a northern operation. Blames leadership. She stayed neutral during the transitional upheaval, but there were rumors she funded protests during Sankara's dismissal." Traoré's mind sharpened. "She's never challenged me openly." "No, sir. But she's been cold." "That's the worst kind," Ibrahim said. "The ones who kill with silence, not shouting." He stepped into the vehicle. "Take me home." But he didn't go home. The car rerouted under Ibrahim's quiet orders. It arrived at a small courtyard house on the edge of the city, the kind with peeling walls, cracked stone, and a single flickering bulb at the gate. Diarra was concerned. "Sir, this place." "She won't meet in the palace," Ibrahim said. "She only comes here." Inside, an elderly woman sat behind a tea set. Not rich. Not powerful. Just wise, and therefore dangerous. Her name was Amadou Fatima. She had once been a revolutionary. A mother of war. She had served the people with ideas sharp enough to frighten generals. And though she held no official role now, her words still traveled farther than government broadcasts. "You're late," she said without looking up. "You heard?" "I heard the knives didn't bite." He sat across from her. The tea was already poured. Still warm. "I need to know who," Ibrahim said. "I'm done guessing." "You already know. You just want confirmation." "Then give it." Fatima sipped. "Diomant." "But she didn't act alone. Someone in your own staff funneled the security routes. Someone is still feeding her." Ibrahim's hand clenched on the table. "So I've already been breached." Fatima leaned in. "No leader survives untouched. What matters is not that the knife reaches the skin, but that you bleed only when you want to." He looked at her. "I want to end this. Not arrest. Not warn. End it." She studied him. Then nodded slowly. "Then do what you always do." "What's that?" "Turn the trap back on the hunter. And pour them tea before you gut them." Back at the palace, the guards doubled. The staff rotated. Diarra ran checks through the night. And Ibrahim? He made a phone call. To Minister Diomant. "Come for tea tomorrow," he said. Silence. "Minister?" Her voice was calm. Too calm. "I'd be honored." She arrived precisely on time. Minister Diomant stepped out of her matte black vehicle with the grace of someone who had attended many burials, some public, some private, some where only one person knew a death had occurred. Her tailored indigo dress was ironed to the fold, her shoes silent on the marble, and her eyes unreadable. The palace guards didn't stop her. They didn't need to. They'd been instructed to remember her face, not forget it. Ibrahim waited on the inner veranda, overlooking the dry courtyard, a chessboard set out but untouched. Tea was already served. The aroma was sharp, herbal, bitter, no sugar. Diomand approached slowly, her expression casual, polite. Calculated. "You called," she said softly, hands behind her back. "I did," Ibrahim replied, motioning to the seat opposite him. "Join me." She sat. Neither touched the tea. "Strange," she murmured after a moment. "This is where you receive allies. Not adversaries." Ibrahim smiled, faintly. Stranger still that you agreed to come. Curiosity, she said. It's an affliction. Especially when one suspects they've been discovered. That was her move, disarm by confession. But she gave no apology. No denial. No groveling. Just the truth. Inevitable. Sharp as a scalpel. Why? Ibrahim asked. You want the whole reason, she countered. Or just the palatable version? Give me the one you'd only say if this tea were poisoned. Diomand's lips twitched. Because I believed you'd break this country. Or be broken by it. Because you move fast. Too fast. The institutions are still limping from the last storm, and you, Captain, you are lightning. And lightning must be stopped. No, she said. It must be grounded. Before it sets the forest on fire. Ibrahim didn't look away. And assassinating me achieves that. She shook her head, slowly. Assassination was never the plan. Not truly. Only, a possibility. A pressure point. One I hoped wouldn't be necessary. You funded the whisper. I did. You leaked the routes. I facilitated doubt. But the choice to move against you, if it came, wouldn't have come from me. I just made sure that if the nation's spine cracked, I wouldn't be beneath the rubble. A pause. Do you regret it? He asked. Diomand smiled, barely. Only that you didn't die. Which makes what comes next complicated. Now they both sat silent, the tea growing colder between them. Then Ibrahim leaned forward, elbows on the table, voice low. You're not the only one who prepared for complications. He reached beneath the table and slid a small object forward. A phone. Her phone. Diomand's breath paused. I have everything, Ibrahim said. Your messages with Salif. Your backdoor comms with foreign attaches. The courier who delivered the secondary dosage of tetrodotoxin to the cook's cousin, confessed. A flicker of recognition in her eyes, but no panic. So you'll arrest me? No. Exile? He shook his head. Then what? She asked, her voice harder now. What does the captain of Burkina Faso do to those who betray him? He picked up his tea. Sipped it. Still no sugar. Then he said something that made her flinch, not outwardly, but in the eyes, in the heart. You're going to help me. She blinked. I'm not going to destroy you, Diomand. I'm going to use you. You are a traitor. But you're also brilliant. Cold. Strategic. And very, very good at identifying threats. I won't be your puppet. No, Ibrahim said. You'll be my spy. She laughed. Sharp. Almost bitter. You'd trust me with secrets? I'd trust you with lies, he replied. Because I already know the truth. And I know who you fear more than me. Her lips parted slightly. Just enough to confirm his suspicion. There was someone else. Tell me who gave the green light, he said. Not just the whisper. The command. She leaned back. Her expression had changed. The polished mask was cracking at the edges. If I tell you, she said carefully, I become a ghost. You already are, he said softly. The question is, do you want to be one in my shadow, or in someone else's grave? Later that night, Ibrahim stared out over the city from the west balcony, the lights of Ouagadougou glimmering like scattered embers across a sheet of darkness. Dayara stood behind him, silent until spoken to. She named him, Ibrahim said. Who? General Zabra. Dayara didn't hide his surprise. Zabra? He's in retirement. He's out of country. He's also not dead, Ibrahim said. And he's been quietly meeting with intelligence figures from Côte d'Ivoire, Mali, and France. Dayara exhaled. The old lion still wants the throne. And he thinks the young lion is careless. Do we move on him? Ibrahim turned. No. No? We invite him to tea. Deira stared. Sir, he tried to kill you. Exactly, Ibrahim replied. Which means he'll come. Because now, he wants to know why I'm still alive. The invitation was handwritten. In ink, not typed. Folded once, sealed with Ibrahim Traoré's personal wax sigil, an eagle over a shattered shackle. The symbolism wasn't subtle. It was sent to an estate in Abidjan under a diplomatic pretense, a conversation among brothers of the soil. But the contents were clear. A private meeting. No aides. No press. Just the two of them, General Zabra and President Ibrahim Traoré, face to face. Everyone said Zabra wouldn't come. The man had ruled with a smile and a rifle before the transitional chaos. He had retired with ceremony, wealth, and a long memory. He had nothing to gain from returning, unless he thought he could finish what he started. 3 days later, a jet touched down at a rural airstrip under military clearance. No delegation. No guards. Just one man with iron-gray hair and a walking cane that wasn't for walking. He arrived at the palace wearing a cream tunic and sunglasses, even though it was dusk. The former general walked with the ease of a man who'd once given orders that made nations tremble. Deira met him at the gate. We weren't certain you'd come, General. Zabra didn't smile. The boy asked nicely. The room was bare. Deliberately so. No aides. No translators. No recording equipment. Just 2 chairs, a round table, and a teapot. Traoré poured the tea himself. Zabra sat and removed his glasses. His eyes were sharp, clearer than age should allow. You wanted to look me in the eye before you tried to kill me? The general asked. Ibrahim didn't blink. I wanted to look you in the eye because I didn't. Zabra raised an eyebrow. You think I fear you? I think you fear irrelevance. That's why you tried to turn my own people against me. Zabra chuckled. You're clever. I remember when clever boys were eaten by wolves in the bush. And I remember when old lions forgot how sharp young teeth are, Ibrahim said softly. The general sipped his tea. Still no sugar. Always the revolutionary. No, said Traoré. Just a man who doesn't want his tea sweetened by foreign hands. Zabra nodded once, acknowledging the jab. Then leaned forward, voice low and deadly calm. You're building something dangerous. You think you can tear down the old scaffolding and replace it with honor. With discipline. But the world doesn't run on those things. It runs on compromise. And bullets. And bribes. I know, Ibrahim said. I just stopped paying them. That will get you killed. That almost did, he corrected. Another silence. Then Zabra asked, why invite me? If you know I ordered the strike. If you know I sent the word through Diomand, and back-channeled through the embassies. Why not simply arrest me when I landed? Traoré met his gaze. Because arresting you is what they want me to do. Zabra tilted his head. Who? The ones watching. The ones who think this country belongs to someone else. If I arrest you, you become a martyr to the old guard. If I kill you, I prove I'm a tyrant. But if I talk to you, face to face, and offer you a choice. Zabra leaned back. Then I become complicit in your myth. No, Ibrahim said. Then you become irrelevant by your own choosing. That struck deeper than any threat. The general's nostrils flared. I built half the command structure you walk on. I brokered the support that carried your name past the first parliament vote. You were my backup plan if the French dogs bit too deep. And now I'm the one holding the leash, Ibrahim said, voice low. The general rose, slowly. You think this ends here? That tea makes us equals? No, Ibrahim replied. I don't think we're equals. I think you're a man with a legacy and no one left to inherit it. That made Zabra freeze. You built an empire of silence and obedience, Traoré continued. But I'm building one of vision and risk. You rule through fear. I lead through fire. People follow me not because I threaten them, but because I walk beside them into the storm. Zabra said nothing for a long time. Then, quietly, you sound like Sankara. I sound like a man who's already survived your worst punch. And is still standing. That night, Zabra boarded a plane back to Abidjan. No cameras. No press. No statements. But the next day, 3 generals quietly submitted resignation letters. And 2 foreign attaches left the country under diplomatic reassignment. Something had cracked. Not loud. But permanent. In the war room, Diarra watched as Ibrahim reviewed a list of internal transfers. You think he's done? The colonel asked. No, Ibrahim said. But he won't strike again with his own hand. He'll send others. Whispered names. Rented loyalties. So what now? Traoré lifted the teacup, empty now, and set it down gently. We let them come. Sir. We let them believe the door is open. That I'm too trusting. That I'm slipping. Then, when they walk through. He looked up. His eyes had gone steel. We shut the door. And we don't open it again. The palace staff rotated weekly now. Not because of logistics, because of trust. No one stayed long enough to build comfort. No one served 2 days in a row in the president's kitchen. Guards were reassigned after each shift. Not out of punishment, but precaution. Ibrahim Traoré understood that betrayal didn't always wear boots or bark orders in back rooms. Sometimes, it smiled from the other side of a teacup. So he made tea himself. Every morning. Boiled the water. Measured the leaves. Watched them swirl. And waited. Because the real assassin, he knew, was still out there. It came on a Monday. Quiet. Almost routine. A security sweep revealed a dead camera feed near the west servant corridor. Nothing major. The guards chalked it up to equipment failure. But Diarra wasn't convinced. He reran the logs. Triple-checked the exit records. Then he saw it. A 6-second loop. Repeating. Clean. Seamless. Someone had spoofed the feed. And inside that 6-second ghost, one man had passed through the corridor. Unmarked. Unregistered. Invisible. By dusk, Diarra had every gate locked. No one in. No one out. He met Ibrahim in the presidential study. Someone breached. We don't know who. But they were inside. Briefly. Traoré didn't flinch. They'll return. Diarra's voice lowered. Sir, there's more. The logs show an override on the kitchen's cold storage. Only for 4 minutes. Poison? We think they tested something. A trial run. Nothing lethal. But, enough to remind us. Ibrahim stood and walked to the window. Rain again. Always the rain when men plotted death. He spoke without turning. Double the watch. And bring me, her. Diarra frowned. Her? You know who? That night, Minister Diomande returned to the palace. Not as a guest. Not as a friend. But as the only person who understood how deep the rot went. She entered the war room, flanked by Diarra and 2 silent operatives. I thought we weren't speaking, she said dryly. We aren't, Ibrahim said. You're listening. She raised an eyebrow. We had a breach, he continued. Not external. Internal. Elite-level clearance. She paused. One of your own. No, Ibrahim said. One of ours. That changed her posture. The casual venom left her spine. This was real. Give me names, she said quietly. I want you to give me names, Ibrahim countered. I want the ones who never speak. The ones who watch. The ones you kept away from even your betrayal. Diomand hesitated. Then nodded. There's a sleeper in communications. Coded name Sable. Never seen, only heard through dead drops. Doesn't answer to generals. Answers to a council that doesn't officially exist. If he's been activated, then we're not talking about power anymore. We're talking about eradication. Good, Ibrahim said. Then let's burn the roots. The next evening, he made tea. Publicly. In the palace courtyard. Invited 6 ministers. All vetted. All loyal, allegedly. He poured it himself. No servers. No guards. Just a kettle and the steam. They talked about budgets. Military logistics. Foreign contracts. No one mentioned the breach. But everyone thought about it. Then, halfway through the second cup, Ibrahim did something that made all 6 men freeze. He set down his cup. Looked at them. Smiled faintly. And said, "One of you is here to kill me." No one moved. No one spoke. He continued, calm as fog. Or, more precisely, one of you has been told to make the decision, if the signal is given. Still, silence. "I want you to know," he said, voice tightening, "I don't hate you for it. I understand it. Orders are strange things. They make killers out of clerks. But there's something you should know too." He leaned forward. "I drink the same tea I serve. I sit at the same table as the traitor. And I sleep in the same room where coups are dreamed." He let that settle. Then he stood. And walked away. Not in fear. But as bait. 3 nights later, it happened. 2:13 a.m. A blackout. Brief. 3 seconds. The cameras looped. A hallway opened. A lock disengaged on the presidential wing. But Ibrahim was not in his bed. He was sitting in the war room, lights low, Daira beside him, eyes locked on the silent feed. A shadow moved down the corridor. No face. No weapon visible. Just intention. Ibrahim leaned into the mic. "Now." Doors slammed shut. Alarms didn't sound, but all internal locks clicked in unison. The figure turned to run. But the corridor was already sealed. He was caged. When they caught him, he said nothing. No resistance. He wore no insignia, no ID. Just gloves. And a vial. Inside the vial, a slow-acting neurotoxin, designed to be dropped in boiling liquid. Tasteless. Odorless. Perfect for tea. Later that morning, Daira stood over the man in the holding cell. He hadn't spoken a word. But the intel on his body told a different story: subdermal transmitter. Synthetic iris. Teeth coated with ceramic laminate to avoid identity scans. A ghost. Traoré didn't visit the cell. He didn't need to. He already knew what message the silence was sending. Instead, he gave another kind of message. That afternoon, he walked into the press chamber and addressed the nation. Not with rage. Not with bravado. But with precision. "There are those," he said, "who do not fear bullets, but fear ideas. They cannot assassinate me in daylight, so they hide behind silk and sugar. But let it be known, I do not drink sweet tea. And I do not die quietly." He looked straight into the camera. "If you want to kill me, come hungry. Come hard. But come knowing, I will not meet you in darkness. I will meet you at the table." Weeks passed. No more whispers. No more breaches. And the only tea served in the palace from then on, was black. No sugar. No poison. Just the taste of survival.